Good morning. We'll wait for a few minutes for people to hop on here. My live doesn't work really good. I don't know why. I can't see comments when we're doing the videos, but I can see them after the fact for whatever reason. But boy, do we have some things for you today. So I hope that you all pay close attention to what's going on. And my main message for you all is get your kids out of government schools.
Huh. Yeah.
Y'all can hate me all you want for saying that. I get so much hate, so many messages, nasty comments on social media. I'm going to get my coffee.
There's, if there's any left, you can top me off. Yeah, it's a lot of people are okay with you saying, plant a tomato in a pot at all cost. Be productive, grow something, some food, or use the space you have. They're okay saying, maybe even with a little bit of, religious radicalism, because maybe they come to expect it, or they find it easy to write off because, we've become so irreligious as a culture. Well, I say that with caveats, but whenever you say, pull your children out of school, out of government, these government propaganda machines, there is no end.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why here in just a minute. And so we're going to start off by saying I've got my notes here. I hope that y'all keep notebooks, write stuff down, because there's so much going on. I can't remember all of it. But if you haven't seen, New York and now California has implemented Rule 2.13. And this has to do with meta-literacy. So what that means, and you can go find the little press release that the governor of New York did, and her exact words were that this curriculum would implement skills to identify misinformation, conspiracy theories, and online hate. And so they're going to implement this in the schools. They're going to allow teachers to be the
fact checkers.
Yeah, essentially fact checkers.
They're taking the fact checker movement from social media, and now they're teaching it. So they're making an entire platoon, an entire workforce of fact checkers with made-up facts or their own facts, personalized facts.
And so that's important to point out too, that a lot of these pushes. There's the common names that are coming up. Soros is one of them, and he also funds Media Matters. So you all need to be aware what is being pushed. So even though these are two states, and they may not have implemented yet in your state, there has already been actions taken, and we've seen this for the past few years. There's already been certain words used, certain opinions pushed, certain agendas pushed within all 50 states. And so it doesn't matter that they've now put this into law. What matters is that your child, your grandchild, your nieces and nephews, if they're in the government school system, they are learning these things. They are learning lies. They're learning. They're becoming little robots.
Well, so one thing, I'm not sure on your notes what all you've got here, but so one thing that's been a popular topic has been the transgender. All of these things are going on. That frankly, now these people are being linked to pedophilia. All of these figureheads. What is it? The editor-in-chief of
Yeah. So
one
let's talk
news
about
outlet
let's talk about this one real quick.
is caught with child pornography. There's a lot of arrests that are going on.
Slade Somer.
Slade Somer.
So he was the big one, and I'm going to mention some things, and I'm not going to use the word. Some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. But I'm going to give you little tidbits for you all to look up. But Slade Somer is one of the guys who debunked Pizzagate. He debunked it. And so, to reiterate, he has just been charged with child porn possession.
Yeah.
And to go on, prosecutors claim he produced some of the content on his phone. The assistant DA says it's one of the most egregious cases she has ever seen. So this guy is only looking at 5 to 10 years in prison for what he's done. They're claiming he actually produced some of the content and did things to these children, and he's only going to get potentially 5 to 10 years if he's convicted. If he's convicted.
How does that tie to some of what we had just said about
So,
government schooling?
So he is also involved. He's in part of the news movement, who promotes themselves as working against misinformation. And they're targeting Generation Z in this. So there's more to this that I could give you. But understand, when you start looking these things up, there are so many strings. There are so many strings and trails to follow. But I'm just giving you little tidbits. So understand, Slade Somer was part of a group who was out there trying to promote and really target Generation Z in promoting again to identify misinformation, conspiracy theories, and online hate. So you have a guy that just recently
teaching in the schools,
right? So
it goes further than that.
So there's one person I want you all to look up. Her name is Liz Crokin. She was the main investigator of Pizzagate, and she is in the documentary Out of Shadows. Is that what?
She may have been.
She's in the documentary Out of Shadows, which dives into all of this. So, and her investigation was into John Podesta. I'm really hoping my video doesn't get banned. But if you don't know,
You're using a lot of words here.
I know. So I hope y'all are taking notes. Liz Crokin and John Podesta. This is real. It has been going on for years. Stop telling me it's a conspiracy theory. Like, I'm shaking. I'm so angry. There's people that have told me that I've been sent nasty messages over child trafficking, that I need to stop talking about it. I will not. So again, to reiterate, they are going to start teaching children that child trafficking, these porn addicts, these people who are doing these nasty, wicked things, are conspiracy theories and misinformation.
Yeah, so I've had this conversation a number of times. And a lot of my information on
your water's ready.
On trafficking, it doesn't come from YouTube. It doesn't come. Well, it doesn't come here. I've got a Epoch Times in front of me this morning. I mean, I'm sitting here. I've got Epoch Times.
I don't think they can see it.
Yeah, I don't know if that mirrors looks like it's backwards to you guys.
But I'm sure you can read it.
So this is the headlines. But this is not where I get my information. A lot of times I can kind of skip those articles because I've already had the conversations with missionary friends and in other countries. And again, whenever we did stop ministries, we had friends who were, detectives, who were doctors, who were rescuers, things of that nature, from different places in the world. And so if you want to support one of those, you can always reach out, and I could send you private messages of those, depending on, if you really want to support someone who's training rescuers, or if you want to support someone who's building infrastructures to prevent trafficking. But that's where a lot of my information comes from personally. And I know everyone doesn't have those contacts, but and I don't divulge them entirely. But there's loads of corruption and censorship, which is why we don't use the videos, and we don't make the habit of posting the direct link. So it leaves us kind of unattached and hopefully free from
being banned
from other algorithms. But it continues. It continues. Some of what we began with, in regard to public or government education, I will say, this is an initiative. And it's not accidental. It's not that, oh no, people have really gone crazy. They have, with what's put in their food, everything else. But it's an initiative. It's on purpose, and it's planned. It's systematic, and it's openly discussed and admitted by the World Economic Forum.
Yes,
they literally take credit
in the UN.
And the UN, in partnership with the UN, they take credit for the movement as a whole. It's actually called the PGLE, which, what do we say that stands for? It is something primary global LGBTI equality. It's an initiative, the PGLE initiative, by the World Economic Forum in partnership with the UN,
Can you start that up
which
again?
they say they initiated in 2019. So a lot's happened. Now, we know this has been around for longer than 2019, but they take credit for the systematic introduction of these things within the populace. And frankly, it is a hotbed in our government schools.
Well, and they are targeting. It's not just hearsay, but they're literally targeting children. And so we have good friends that are within the school system that are doing their best to be good influences on the students. But understand, this is bigger than your local schools. This is bigger than your friends who are in the educational system in the United States. It's a huge monster, and you cannot fight this at a local level. This is beyond. It has grown beyond that.
Well,
on purpose.
I would agree and disagree. What I think Rachel is saying is that you're not going to turn the ship around. You're not gonna join the school board. You're not gonna change these things. You understand? This is a wide, concerted effort that's well documented. There are no accidents. Like, my goodness, there's a whole new level of craziness whenever you read that. What was it? Was it Pentagon? Or no, not Pentagon, but a U.S. nuclear station was hacked, and those hacktivists have demanded they'll release the information of these employees and things that they stole, so long as they would engage in research projects to create cat-human hybrids.
And that's a real news headline.
Yeah, what kind of craziness is this?
We have reached a new level of crazy. A new level of crazy. And then to take it even further, we now have a transgender suspect that threatens to rape Christian girls, inject HIV in people wearing crosses, and copycat the Nashville shooting. And so don't put it down, don't shove, well, love is love, or God accepts all these things. He does not accept this. He doesn't. So please stop shoving that down my throat.
Well,
And here's the thing. There is spiritual warfare going on right now, all around us. We have seen it. We see it globally. We see it in our country. We see it regionally. And guess what, folks? It's here in Hancock County. If you are diving into things that do not glorify God and is of the devil, Satan, he's going to devour you. If you're doing things and promoting things that are against Scripture and against what God that glorifies God and God says is wrong, folks, what are y'all doing? I don't understand. I do not understand how you can dive into something and then want to glorify God on Sunday. I just cannot. I can't. And call me hateful, go ahead. I've had all the nasty messages. And if you send me a nasty message, I'm just going to delete it and ignore you. But we're at the point where I am so sick and tired that I've got to accept this. That somebody can threaten to rape girls, inject HIV into people wearing a cross. That is hate. That's wicked and deceitful and evil. I'm not going to accept that. Please don't tell me to.
Well, and, with all of this, so I made a comment, you're not going to turn the ship around, but at the same time, you can fight it at the local level, but only in such the sense that you're not turning the boat around. You can jump ship. You can jump ship. Look, we're entering the holidays. You're coming to Christmas break. I want to tell you a story. We weren't homeschoolers, okay? There was a time.
You better watch out.
There was a time we weren't homeschoolers,
Over there.
and so we said, listen, it's good. There's good people. We do. We have friends. There's people I love that have worked and had good careers. I've got friends even today that are in the public school and that strive as adults, not students, as adults that are salt and light, or they try to be salt and light within those communities. And so I'm saying that with compassion toward all of them, and that's why it's those people that convinced us to stay or try to stay within that government schooling system. And we were involved. We tried to be the good parents. Now it's an act of ministry. When you listen to people talk, a lot of Christians and churches, to support the public school, it's like one and the same. They don't care about the initiatives. They don't care about the philosophies. It just seems good. And we were those people, and we strove to be good at it. And we realized, and we waited whenever the Lord directed our steps, and we were confronted with certain scenarios that we thought it was the best decision. Mind you, we were not confronted with what you're seeing on the news today. Mind you, I think anyone who leaves their kid in the public school now is plumb crazy. But as we waded through those and were confronted with scenarios and we made the decision, we said, well, let's get our ducks in a row. Let's not be hasty. Let's take our time. And looking back, I wish we were much more hasty. I wish we pulled them at Christmas break, a time similar where we're at now. We'd already made the decision, and we said, well, let's wait. Let's see how things go.
That was a mistake.
We were those people. And for us, it was a mistake. For us, our child, our student suffered during that time. And we should have just pulled them. You're good parents. You love your children. No one's going to love them more. And what I mean is, don't farm it out. I'm not asking you to farm it out to someone else. I'm not asking you to break the bank by sending them to some lucrative private school that costs you thousands of dollars a year. I'm telling you, God has equipped you to do this. He's called you to it. He has said that children are a heritage of the Lord. Who are they a heritage for? The parent.
Well, and I want to say too, it's not just your job to identify these agendas and maybe perhaps even poor influences, but I've even had to be careful who my kids engage with at the homeschool level.
Sure.
We are not in a co-op for several reasons. That's one of them. Because I know that there are people that do not have the same values as I do, and just because a child is homeschooled does not mean that they're going to be a good influence on my child. It's my responsibility to raise them in the love and admonition of the Lord, but that's also a command to be aware of who's around your child. So when you're homeschooling, co-ops are an option, but be aware that there are parents, there are other adults that are teaching that may not agree with you on a lot of things, important issues. And there are also other children who may be allowed to do certain things at home or say certain things that can influence your child. And again, homeschooling has become very popular. There's a lot of people that are pulling their kids and doing it. But I also want you to be aware that they can influence your child still in the wrong way. And it's not just, it's not safe. It's just not safe. You have to be aware and always have your guard up around others who your child is around. I'm by no means a helicopter parent. I'm by no means controlling over what my kids do. But right now, I'm trying to shape them and mold them into what God desires for them to be. And so I'm going to be very careful about who is around my child. I'm even very careful with family. I'm very careful with, there are certain conversations that they may have with family. And guess what? I have to go home and I have to discuss certain things with them because, unfortunately, there are family that don't have the same values as we do. That's just the way it is.
Well, and so our approach it's not even sheltering.
Right.
There's times we run across these unfortunate things. They will, but it's a matter of being able to step away from those conversations and talk about it with your child. Well, what did you see? What did you hear? What did we notice? We saw a movie the other day, and I didn't know the producer, whatever it just happened to be, and we see the LGBTQ stuff pushed twofold in an animated film. So we said, so we pulled back after the movie, talked about it. Man, this part was funny, but here's the problem. What did we notice? Did you all notice this? Maybe you didn't notice. That's even more dangerous because now these producers nominalize those things. That's why some of us saying what we're saying is offensive, is because it's been nominalized, it's been normalized, and we're going beyond that even now. But it does begin somewhere. People want to blame. Our tendency, and I think this is as Americans, I think that it's what has fed our culture for so long, is that we look for a boogeyman. We look for who the bad guy is. All of our movies, are based around hero, villain, role reversal, but it's still in those roles. With your children, we have these talks with the kids. We look at wars. That ours have a special interest in historical and wartime history, and the reality is there is no good guy and bad guy. There are a lot of bad actors on all sides of the fence. So we have to keep that biblical worldview and talk about it. So it's not sheltering your kid. We're just saying those promises, those kids are heritage to you. If you're grandparents, it's your heritage as well. Your children and your children's children. You have a time. There's one special article in the paper I was reading. I don't often get to sit down and just read from the paper like I like because of all of the headlines they send just daily in the email that I'm able to read. But is seeing it what's just essentially boomers. Your country needs you. And they talk about as grandparents, you have the opportunity to pour back into your family, doing not just a personal service, but a communal service. And so you're able to do the same. Support your children who are trying to raise their children. And, restore the family. It was literally one generation ago. I don't think my grandparents, I'm young, okay, with 30, at the ripe age of 35 years old. I think I'm fairly young. I realize that. I don't have the wisdom that some of this older generation before me has, that my parents have, and things. But my grandparents did not have some inflated retirement. Yet they made it because they had children who took care of them. You know, that among the many things that I can say, my parents took care of their parents insofar as they were able. And so, and the same is true, I believe, for Rachel's family, that we saw a faithfulness in family. That's an old concept. What we're seeing now, where you work hard, teach your children to make for themselves, to borrow money in order to have something, that's a new concept that has failed. That's something that tears down the family. The concept that your children aren't your health care or they aren't your retirement, that's a new concept that has failed. You work your life away in order to have that retirement taken away so that you can just try to keep yourself out of a nursing home because you've sent your kids away and encouraged them to go somewhere else for a livelihood and everything else. This is a problem. Listen, trafficking, the whole idea, so in Honduras is one place we're involved. A lot of people don't understand. We want to throw money in an offering plate. We want to create orphanages. We want to create this pseudo solution. When the reality is, you have to build that family economy so they stay where they're at. So you teach grandparents and parents how to parent and how to raise their children in the love and admonition of the Lord, to give their children hope so that they can stay and be useful in the economy, so they can have skills that grow their families, you know.
Right. So I've got a couple more things that I want to talk about. And so I brought up the Rule 2.13 in New York. I don't know if this is part of that. I don't know. I haven't done research. But they are now, in the past 2 months, I think this has come up as a topic in New York, and I think it's finally passed this month. Quarantine camps in New York. So while everybody's worried about conflicts overseas, New York has silently put into law the establishment of quarantine camps. And so what this means is, again, I think we saw this the past 2 years. If an authority tells you you need to leave your home and you need to go to this designated spot and you resist, they will call the police. They will forcibly remove you from your home. And we're also talking about your children, your grandparents. They can, by law now, if they find you, and I don't know the stipulations and how they're determining this, but they can remove you from your home and send you to a designated spot. And so,
my big question on all this is, there's been a lot of things like this that's come up. Quarantine camps. We thought, did you think that the pandemic was over? What are they talking about? Or new viruses, or extending emergency powers, or what does that all look like?
Look at this picture. This is from Massachusetts. This November 14th. Look at all these people. Look what they have on. Do you think it's over? It's not over yet. It's not over. They're pushing again. And so I just want to make you aware that New York has started this. Again, I haven't done much research into it yet. But don't be, again, I keep on saying this. Please don't be distracted about what's going on over here. They want you to look over here and realize that there are things that are going on that could affect you.
Yeah, so they've got a lot that's going on in the way of these emergency powers, pandemics, things like that. I don't know what lies around the corner.
Well, and again, now the whole thing with is coming out, the efficiency of and everything else. We know. We already knew this.
Well,
we knew that it was ineffective. that there were potential health issues, and understand there's something going on in China now where children are getting pneumonia. Do you realize that they are now saying these children are getting pneumonia because of their lack of immune system? That whole time during COVID when they were stuck in their homes and they weren't coming in contact with other things in their environment, they're blaming that on that. So when you get sick this year and you decided to stay home and sit on your couch and not do anything and not allow your immune system to do what it's supposed to do, keep that in mind. They are now saying that children are becoming susceptible to this sickness because of their lack of, well, essentially because of their isolation that they chose.
Well, so here's a few that I found interesting. Is it always concerned me? There's numbers. We have a lot of numbers thrown at us, on the news and everywhere else, and it's easy to misinterpret those or to push them one direction or another. I've always said, these corporations and governments, they hire people to push a pencil, and if you like a good example of this, go on one of those timeshare vacations, you will see them. They're good at their jobs, but it's a phantom market, phantom reality, and so I like to look at, sometimes you can zoom in on the details and you can get these little micro statistics, but you can also zoom out and get these macro statistics. And one that I think is telling is when you look at the large numbers. And so one of those might be just deaths. Go to CDC and research how many total deaths, like from everything, man, that people died in car accidents, everything else. I don't think they include abortions into those statistics. So just to make that note, that there's a lot more people dying that I think aren't reported in that, if we count abortion, that great travesty. However, when we use their numbers, okay, the CDC was not quite, but almost a governing body, an authority for these sort of issues and for health and wellness. Well, they have said, when you just look, I'll just let you look that up, and you can survey and see that over the course of, so from 2019, so this is the inauguration of the pandemic and the implementation of a thingamajigger, okay? And what happened from 2019 beyond was an increase in 1 year, not a spike prior to inoculation, but an increase in total deaths in America that had not been matched essentially for 20 years. It took 30 years from the time that America had more than 2 million deaths in 1982 or 3. It was 30 years. It wasn't until 2003 that they even had an increase of 500,000 over that 30-year period. Now, that it went up, and a lot of that we can say is due to increased population. We expect the deaths to rise if there's more people, because the percentage will stay the same. So, but the reality is at 2019, a more recent history, it was nearly 20 years, just around the year 2000, when we saw that level of increase of 500,000, and yet we saw that a 20-year increase go straight up on your graph, okay? Straight up in 1 year. They got a 20-year increase in the amount of overall deaths for every cause in 1 year. That has increased each following year, as it should. Like it was just a giant tick up. Now, what I find ironic in this is this obviously was not a result of overall population. The population did not increase in that rate. You did not see this drastic uptick. As a matter of fact, we have seen a downturn. We've seen a downturn in reproduction, in fertility. We've seen a downturn. We've seen an increase in infant mortality. We have seen an increase in the number of unmarried births. We've seen all of these things that shows us a fragmentation of the family that has brought about the ruining of our nation. And so what can we attribute that to? I think it's a number of things. I'm not saying that, don't hear me say, well, there was a boogeyman, it was COVID, or it was the administration or anything. Don't hear me say that. I think the ball's in your court. I think it's in our court. I think that we need to get our head out of the sand and act like people, act like families, and
I think there's a lot of godly men who, Voddie Baucham being one of them, that really, early on was saying, the nuclear family is at risk. But again, we have a lot of local pastors that refuse to speak on that just simply because they don't want to irritate their congregations. And I would say, if your pastor hasn't spoken on this, then you probably need to find a new church. If he's not talking about the things that are going on in the world and pointing you towards Scripture, toward the commandments of God, if he's not, cautioning you against the type of fellowship you have outside of church, I highly suggest that you find a new church, find a new pastor, find a church that wants to see you grow in Christ and not in worldly wisdom. But there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and then we have to go out and feed the animals. So, digital euro. And so they just now, and during this month, ruled to go ahead and go forth with the digital euro. They're looking at this taking 2 years to finalize a rule book. And I think this is a quote. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my writing. It will also include testing and experimentation to develop a digital euro that meets both the Eurosystem's requirements and user needs. For example, in terms of user experience, privacy, financial inclusion, and right there in that sentence right there, environmental footprints. What does that mean?
An environmental footprint. Well, I think we all know what that means. That means that we're all being asked to bow to this new pagan religion that centers around global warming or climate change or something else. Again, so numbers. I like numbers. Not everybody is, but I do, because I think numbers, though they can be manipulated, though they can be skewed, they don't lie. And the way I teach math in our home is that numbers are a language. Okay, 1 through 0, or however you put that. Those are your alphabet, and so we learn every problem in multiple forms until it clicks. And so I think the numbers help. So what's an example of this? Just if you're one of those that says, I'm with you on let's be good stewards of the planet. Let's not pollute. Let's not, none of that's godly. All of creation groans for the coming of the Lord. So we know that there are effects that subject all of creation to futility, and so we want to be godly as Christians. We want to see something flourish. We want things to be beautiful. We don't want these rigid industrial looking places. We want flowers and trees and fruit and birds, and we want it all. So because that's what's godly, and so we pursue and create dominion. We bend the earth to this Edenic place that it started as, and so in doing that, just ask yourself. So I'm with you on the stewardship. I'm with you on the good disposal practices, things like that, recycling. However, when we say the reduction of carbon footprint, there's a number of things that can be said. The way this is applied from our climate specialists of the day is they define that in man-made carbon. Okay, whatever the man-made carbon is. And there's really no distinction in all of their language that really isolates the human himself from this footprint. You, I, as living organisms, we are a carbon footprint. There literally is an elimination, or it could be interpreted, an elimination of humans. And that's not far-fetched, because in order to eliminate the carbon footprint of cows, they eliminate cows.
Yeah.
So don't think that's far-fetched what I'm saying. But ask the question this: how much of our air is carbon dioxide? Look that percentage up. How much of the air you breathe on a percentage basis is carbon dioxide? Then take that small percentage of carbon dioxide and then ask how much of that is actually produced by humans. Now you've got a fraction of a percent that actually comes from our breathing, from our manufacturing, things like that. So the worry is incredibly inflated. Our world is on its foundation. It's held there because God keeps it there. All things are, in Him live and have their being. He holds all things together by the power of His Word. We can look to a number of scriptures. That last one from Hebrews 1. But anyway, yeah, carbon footprint. That's a dangerous one. Environmental footprint.
So that's about all I've got today. I'm hoping later on to make a video on making cheese. Did you know that you can make mozzarella cheese by just a couple of ingredients within 30 minutes? It's really easy, simple, and anybody can do it. So I'm hoping to get that done and put it on the YouTube channel. Again, I know that Facebook doesn't like to promote our YouTube links, so you may not see it in your newsfeed. So you can visit YouTube, or you can check out the forum page, and hopefully it's a really interesting thing that you can do with the kids today, tomorrow, this week. Simple, easy, fast, and it's really good, I think.
Are you going to put it on apple pie?
Maybe.
That's an inside joke. I'll let you in. What is it, a log cabin? We've got a Pioneer cookbook. It's got a lot of those funny sayings, and it says, apple pie without the cheese is like a kiss without a squeeze. So there's your funny for today.
But I hope you all have a great Saturday. I hope that you're productive, that you make plans with your family, and I hope that this holiday season that you're focusing on the joy and the peace that God grants through His Son, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so be happy. Look, everything, again, there's a lot going on. Look, the world is burning itself down, but that's the problem, I think, among Christians and families, is we are too much of the world. When you make those separations, when you pull out of some of those things, the risen Christ gives the command in Revelation, come out of her, my people. When you make that separation, when you can be in the world but less of it, there is a lot more joy to be had. There is laughter, and there's family. There's family, and there are children, and people say, well, it's hard or whatever. Maybe it is, but as I've said over and over again, even this week, if you're one of those that we've interacted with, you've heard me say this week that, those pioneers are this what seems like an earlier way of life, which I would say is not that old of a way of life. Yeah. It seems like it's more difficult for people, or was more difficult for them. But I argue they had rocking chairs on their front porch that they actually got to sit in. They had time to sit in those. They had time to make 10 children in their small cabins and to spend that time together. Look, man, that's pretty good to me. We all need to slow down. No one I have ever talked to has said, no, man, I need to do more. We're doing all we can. We're enslaved. We're being choked out by the thorns and thistles of this world. Man, you're too much of the world. And so come out of her, slow down, have some joy, and maybe some mozzarella cheese. You know?
Yeah. So I hope you all have a great Saturday and that you're preparing yourself for Lord's Day tomorrow.
Amen.